You are watching or listening to Music Club, and for the next 45 minutes, we are going to be counting down the UK's best performing Eurovision songs so you don't have to. Hi, I'm JR.
Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Simon.
So I am not really a Eurovision person. I've seen the whole thing maybe 3 or 4 times, and I often dip in and out of bits of it, but I'm not one of these people who's religious about it, and I certainly don't know the sort of facts and figures of it. I'm not a human Eurovision Wikipedia page. But nevertheless, I thought, seeing as Doctor Who's doing a Euro... No, I didn't actually, did I, John?
No.
I said, let's do a Eurovision episode. And then you said, oh, just like Doctor Who is. And I said, oh, you're right, it is. So, as it happens, we're also doing a Eurovision episode. And what I decided to do was work out what our best performing Eurovision songs are. And there were various criteria by which you could have worked this out, but a lot of them just wouldn't have been kind of fair. So, for example, if you did the best selling songs, well, songs that are released these days just don't sell as well as songs that were released in like the 60s or whatever.
And the
So
metric is streaming these days, not
well,
sales.
exactly. But even when
So,
the metric was sales, I think you'd have had huge disparities between like the 70s and the 90s or whatever. So I didn't use that as one of the criteria. What I said was this is a Eurovision episode, so the paramount thing is how well did it do at Eurovision. So if it came number one in Eurovision, if it won, it's at the top of this list. And if it came number two, it's further down the list. And as it transpires, out of, I don't know, about 70, I suppose, Eurovisions, we've had 21 songs that have finished either first or second, which I'll get back to. Then, if there were joint ones at number one or number two, as clearly there were, my next metric was how well did it do in the UK charts? So if it came at number one, it's above something that came at number two in the UK charts. And if that was a joint, if that was tied, my next metric after that was how many weeks did it spend on the UK charts? So for how long was it popular, in other words? So those are the three criteria. And by the time I'd done those three criteria, there were no tied places. Oh no, there were two tied places, and yeah, I had another criteria for those, which I won't go into. For fear of boring everybody, let's get to the meat of it. Before we go into the actual chart, Simon, do you watch Eurovision?
Not for a long time. Not for a long time. If it's kind of all in the room, then I'll take an interest, a kind of
Yeah.
morbid interest, but without giving too much away. But yeah. But years ago, probably in the 80s, I probably would have watched it properly.
Right, yeah.
there's
Well, I
only
mean,
4 channels, so you have
yeah,
much
well.
choice.
What about you, John? Did you watch?
I am at least in the room when Eurovision is on because Carolyn is a huge fan of Eurovision. She will watch it religiously every year. I think I did miss it when it was a Who convention on the same day, so I did nothing days, but so I wasn't too disappointed in missing it. But I have seen the vast majority of Eurovisions over 40 odd years.
Oh, really? See, I always enjoy it when I do see it, but I generally tend to be podcasting when it's on, so I miss it. And the
I think
last,
it's the voting is the fun bit, isn't it, for everyone else?
yeah, yeah.
Just to,
I'd like to see the song so I know what they're talking about, but you're
yeah,
right, the voting is the fun part. But the last couple of years, I think I've made a point of not organising a podcast on the night, so I could, because my family all watch it. They all think it's great. They all enjoy it. Whether the songs are any good or not, they enjoy the performances, right?
yeah.
So the last couple of years, I've tried to make a point of being in there with them while they do. Should we get into it then?
Hmm.
Let's have fun.
There's one song that so I've got a top 20, and there's one song which I've put at 21st place, but which actually I couldn't place because. So I said my criteria was how well it did in the charts. And I don't know where to go necessarily to look for anything further other than sort of like Wikipedia or whatever. And I also checked the sort of official chart pages for things. But, and I've put it in 21st place from 1964, Matt Monroe's song, I Love the Little Things, appears never to have been released as a single.
Really?
Yeah, so
Mm.
Wow.
there's no evidence of it in the charts whatsoever, either on Wiki or in the official chart pages. So that one came second and
S-
yet wasn't released as a single.
Strange because Matt Monroe was huge,
Yeah.
Bond theme, everything.
Hmm. You're right. It's so odd. So I had to put that in 21st place. Right, I'm going to rattle through the 11 to 20 places so that we can get into the top 10 and talk about those songs because that's really what we came here for, the top 10, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to interrupt me and bring something up about any of the people or any of the songs, please feel free to do so. But otherwise, I'll probably go through and
Just
just.
just just go steady on Cliff Richard.
Right, first a couple of facts though. The first year of Eurovision was 1956, but the first year the UK entered Eurovision was in 1957
Is it
when
Sing Little Birdie? Something like that?
when Patricia
Can't remember.
Breedin, her song All came seventh out of 10. Then we skipped a year, and then we've done it every year since 1959. So there you go. That's when we came into Eurovision. In 20th place from 1989, all of these came second, by the way, that fell outside the top 10. We'll get to the ones that came first later, which charted at number 73. So this was obviously really popular. From 1989, Live Report, and Why Do I Always Get It Wrong? I don't know. I think the title says it
Nope.
all, really, doesn't it?
I don't remember that one at all.
In 19th place, from 1 year earlier, Scott Fitzgerald. I mean, his was called.
It's
It's not the
Go.
Scott
It's
Fitzgerald, is
no,
it?
no. It's Go. It is a terrible big ballad. That's
Is
the type
it?
of thing that you score. It's awful. It's gloppy, sentimental. No.
Right. I don't know. I don't know any of the songs from outside the top 10, bar maybe one, I've got to be honest. In 18th place from 1965, Kathy Kirby's I Belong, which came the first one to be a number 36, a top 40 chart hit. Or if you can call 36 a hit. I suppose in 1965 it nearly was. Coming 20 in the charts from 1992 in 17th place, Michael Ball and One Step at a Time.
Oh,
It's kind of a lightish pop song, but
Is it?
which it
yeah.
doesn't really fit what he does.
I didn't even know Michael Ball had done Eurovision. Yeah, and that doesn't sound like he
It's got
should
it's
have.
got a rhythm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Does it?
Mm.
Okay.
it's got a good beat.
In 16th place, also came in at number 20 in the charts. Uh, Brian Johnson, Looking High, High, High. I don't know, it's a bit early to say he'd been smoking too much, but it certainly sounds like it. In 15th place on this list, also came in second despite the title. Number 19 in the charts, Lindsay DePaul and Mike Moran, Rock
Rock
Bottom.
bottom.
I remember that. I loved that when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
That's been on the top of the pops repeats recently
Mm.
because they've been
Oh,
doing
really?
70s. So as is another one, but I don't know if that'll crop up. And Lindsay DePaul wrote a later one as well.
Well, Lindsay DePaul was famous for, I remember it was something, but it wasn't this that I remember, I don't think. Anyway,
There's a nice performance style for pops where they sat either side of a couple of pianos put together.
Mm.
oh, right.
Yeah. So
Oh,
it's a
that sounds familiar.
yeah, it's a really nice performance. So
Right. Okay, maybe I do know that one and just didn't realise. Anyway, in 14th place, oh, that came at number 19 in the charts. This one came at number 15 in the charts, second and Eurovision, and 14th in this top 10. From 1993, Sonia, Better the Devil You Know. Is
it's
that the
not a pat.
Kylie song?
No,
No,
no.
I
no.
was going to say.
I was
So,
hugely disappointed when I heard it.
Yeah,
oh, really? Yeah.
it's quite jaunty.
Oh, is it?
I could sing a chorus, but I'm not going to do any singing, frankly, because no one wants to hear that.
They were fair enough. Okay, so actually, outside the top 10, there aren't any songs I know after all. It's weird that it's got such the same title as a Kylie song, and yet it's a different song.
Stop
Mm.
kicking a
Right.
Wolfman artist, Pin.
Mm.
Well, that's what I thought, and that's why I thought, well, has she done a Kylie song for Eurovision? I thought it was a bit odd because I
Yeah,
mean, I was a
it's not in Sonia's personality, is it? Because she's bright, bubbly, but she's not doing this quite sleaziest pop song.
yeah. Right, in 13th place, it came 15 in the charts. Imani, Where Are You from 1998.
Number two, didn't no.
No,
No,
I'm scanning my brain and thinking, where are you? I can't remember that song at all.
And we don't know.
No.
no. In 12th place from 1975, came 12 in the charts. The Shadows, Let Me Be the One.
Wow,
Oh,
really? That late?
Was there singing on that, or was that just a...
there must have been.
There,
It's
Yeah,
a song
I,
contest.
I think
yeah, yeah.
there has to be by rule.
Well, you'd think so, because like
Because
Simon says,
yeah,
it
because
wouldn't be a song
when
if there was no
what
singing.
was it when
Well,
the voice went for Norway, they had to have a little vocal piece in there. Or Norway. I don't know if I'm right on that country, but yes.
Fair enough. Right, from 1959, you mentioned this already, John, came 11th because it was also at number 12 in the charts. Sing Little Birdie by Pearl
Bill
Carr
Carr
and
and
Teddy
Teddy
Johnson.
Johnson.
I don't even recall that, but just the title itself.
I've just seen it on clips on pop shows on BBC4, and
Right.
it's very, very 50s.
Speaking of which, we're getting into the top 10 now. So these songs are the 10 that, I mean, these pretty much all landed in the top two or three in the charts, as well as in the top two of Eurovision. They all did a bunch of weeks on the charts as well, basically, really. So these have all actually bona fide hits, frankly. Way more than the others. Everything that finished outside our top 10 finished outside the top 10 of the charts, and all of these are in the top three of the charts. So, properly, these are hits. So, we'll give a bit more time to these. From the first one, though, so there were several on this list in the top 10. There were two or three that I didn't really know. And this was one of them. And I don't know whether that might be the case for all three of us, but potentially. From 1961, came second in Eurovision, got to number two in the charts, 10th on our list. The Allisons and Are You Sure?
I'd never heard it until I listened to it
Nope.
No,
recently.
no, neither you, John, no. I've got to say, so it's very 50s and it's very kind of like Everly Brothers or
I was
whatever.
Yeah,
going to say it's
Yeah.
incredibly Everly
that
Brothers.
was the exact comparison.
But this is the weird thing. And so our episode on this is recorded, but our episode on this hasn't gone out yet. It's very Everly Brothers, but actually the chorus of this does a thing that is exactly the same as the chorus of the first track on the first Simon and Garfunkel album, which is You Can Tell the World. And I was like listening to it thinking, well, it's okay. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Simon and Garfunkel. But actually, 3 years before Simon and Garfunkel, or 2 years before Simon and Garfunkel did that song, although that song was a cover, so now I'm slightly confused as to who got that thing and where they got it from. I mean, it's obviously a coincidence. But actually, what did we think of this song? And for what it's worth, I actually thought it was all right.
Yeah.
It's not my kind of thing, but I didn't think it was. It didn't. It didn't irritate me in any way.
No,
I
in much the same way as Everly Brothers, really. I don't listen to them out of choice, but they're perfectly,
yeah.
Yeah, it's very pre-Beatles. I think just that it's very, it's probably the one that's most of its time on this list, I think.
Probably, yeah. There are a couple
But
on this list that are slightly out of their time, frankly. We'll get to
yes.
them. But yeah, I think, and I'll ask us at the end what our favourite from this top 10 is, maybe, or which one we dislike the least, or like the most, depending on how this goes. But this was, I wouldn't have said this was in contention for my favourite, but I think if I'd have had to make a top five or whatever, this may have been in contention for the top five, given what some of the other songs are.
It's
Num
perfectly pleasant.
yeah,
Perfectly
it's
pleasant listening.
absolutely fine, and it was let's say a nice surprise, to be honest, because
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
saw there was something from 1961 that was on the list, I thought that's going to be awful, isn't it?
You
But
worry it's
no,
going to be one of those mannered things with someone in a suit sort of jiving around awkwardly, aren't you? It's
yeah,
not.
no, it was absolutely fine. Right, in ninth place, also second in Eurovision, also came to number two in the charts from 1970, Mary Hopkin, Knock Knock, Who's There, which I had probably heard but didn't really know. I don't think I really knew this song very much at all. And I have to say, this was in contention for my favourite on this list. I, 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 because often the way to do well in Eurovision is to be a bit in your face or a lot in your face. And actually, I found this one quite sort of mild-mannered and yet catchy as hell with a really deceivingly simple chorus that does a couple of slightly odd things, like the knock knock bit kind of builds up to that and then comes down from it afterwards. And so it was, I think, a more complicated song than you give it credit for when you're listening to it. I just really liked it, to be honest. I wouldn't say it was one of my favorite songs of all time, but certainly of the 10 that we listened to, this was very much up among the ones that I liked the most. Simon, what did you think?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the song actually, and it was interesting because I was looking around iTunes and all I could find was a live recording.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Same on Spotify and all the streaming services.
Mm. Um,
Oh, well.
yeah. Well, yeah. And obviously, I made the connection with the name, with the Tony Visconti connection and that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing. I'm always looking for connections, so that was, that made it interesting.
Any way you can relate any of these to the Pet Shop Boys, so
We'll get there, I'm
I
sure.
got the Pet Shop Boys in on this cast. Thank you very much. That'll do.
John, what did you think?
First thing I go is it's such an odd choice of artist to send to Eurovision because she's
Yeah.
folky and her big hit was quite reflective and again doing interesting and slightly odd things, I think. But yeah, it's a really kind of nice listen. It's an unusual. It would stand out, I think, at Eurovision.
It's the one on this. So, on this list, there are some songs that you still hear on the radio all the time, even now, or maybe not now, but up until relatively recently,
Yeah,
you'd hear them. The Cliff Richard, for example, would have been a staple of your sort of light, easy listening radio stations, at least
it's
up
on
until
his
recently.
it's on his greatest hits.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
happy with it.
And yet the Mary Hopkin one is one that you'd think would last, and yet my familiarity with it. I mean, when I first listened to it for this, because we listened to the top 10, that's what we did, that's what we decided to do. I was like, oh, I've never heard this before. And then two or three listens later, I was like, no, actually, I remember this being played in the 70s, but probably not since maybe 1975, 76 when I was a kid. So I seem to remember hearing it a lot when I was a kid, but not since then.
I think it's got that folk thing that kind of falls a bit out of favour mid-70s.
Probably. And yeah, actually, I think it stands up. So uh, it's the kind of thing where I wouldn't be surprised to hear it on the radio now, I don't think,
No, absolutely, absolutely. You could put it on. You could, yeah, or certainly you could remake it for the radio now.
for sure. And actually, I think some of the things I've said about this are probably also true of the one that's come in at number eight. So at number eight from 1972, so 2 years later, also came second in Eurovision, also got to number two in the charts. Beg, Steal or Borrow by the New Seekers, which to me kind of sounds like the younger brothers and sisters of the really cool late 60s flower generation. And their younger brothers and sisters didn't realize that Altamont and everything else happened and didn't realize that the Cultural Revolution fell apart and are still doing it. And you're thinking, what the hell are you doing still doing it? You're about 4 years out of date.
They
But
were trying to teach the world to sing.
Yeah, I was going to say mamas and papas. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But as it goes, I didn't like this one particularly, but I didn't dislike it either. I thought this one was okay, to be honest.
Mm.
John, what did you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a. I haven't heard it. I wouldn't turn the radio off if it came on,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
equally, I
You
would
wouldn't go out of
never
your
have
way.
bought it. No, I
No,
wouldn't even have gone out of way to listen to it on a streaming service. So
no, fair. But it's a perfectly pleasant, innocuous, slightly out of date song.
Kind
it's
of,
kind. Yeah,
yeah.
God,
Say kind of standard Eurovision fare for that era, really.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's how they pick. You can almost get distinctive kind of eras of how they pick the songs. That 50s stuff is the usual kind of awkward BBC idea of popular culture where they don't quite get it. You move on to pop stars, then you move on to something quite pleasant, innocuous. almost light entertainment-ish into the 70s and
And what
80s.
year did ABBA win? Was it 73, 4, 5?
74, 74.
74, yeah. So this is 2 years before ABBA. And ABBA really kind of, I suspect, revolutionized what Eurovision was about, probably.
I
And
think
so,
that's the
Good
moment it
songs.
went really.
well,
I think as well as that, it's that's when the first time population would have color TVs to watch it as well. So it's the first time it would really popped out, I think, because
yeah, yeah,
color TVs, the mass uptake was the Princess Anne's, was it, I can't remember, wedding in 73.
yeah. Right, right. Anyway, let's move on to number seven from 1968. Came second in Eurovision, got to number one in the charts. Congratulations by Cliff Richard. I will say, I think this is a really well written, well produced song with lots of interesting things going on it. And it's really well performed too. I think it is the best suited to Cliff Richard. So Cliff Richard's not got a very interesting voice, I don't think. But I think this song is perfectly matched to his voice. But I just really don't like it. Simon, what do you think?
Well, it was kind of one of those songs that just got requested on Junior Choice all the time if it
Oh
was
yeah,
somebody's birthday. So you're pretty much talking every edition of the show.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, so that kind of stuff, and it would turn up on like a Pickwick 7-inch, probably not the original version,
yeah, yeah.
alongside Wombling Free or something. So yeah, it's one of those songs that's been there all our lives, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, totally, yeah. I just find something slightly, and I listen to the lyrics, and there's nothing creepy necessarily about the lyrics, but I just find something slightly creepy about the song, frankly. There's something
Something about
about it. Yeah.
Cliff is a kind of a light entertainment singer, I think. So I know if he's kind of, I know it could be wanky, but it's inhabiting. He's never inhabiting the song. He's always forming it. So perhaps there's always a distance on those songs for me. There's a few
Yeah,
he
sure.
does later on, which I'm fine with, but this, no, it's just kind of,
It's no Wired for Sound, is it?
no, God, no, or Devil Woman.
No.
No,
It's,
it's the very much the other end of his spectrum, isn't it, frankly?
yeah, but it's, okay, yeah, not something, it was something I would turn the radio because it has been a kind of almost a byword in my head for naffness for my
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
life,
And
really.
actually, what year was it? 68? Because it's really quite cheesy for 68, isn't
Oh
it? You
yeah,
know,
Yes.
very late
bum
50s,
bum
early.
bum
Yeah, yeah.
bum. It's like, wow, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like something that came from the 50s,
It's the
frankly.
sort of thing your grandparents would buy for you when you were a child.
Yes, exactly that.
Very much
It's
so.
someone's, again, it's that Beats thing I said about Beats in the 50s and 60s, is they don't quite get popular cultures, so they're trying to
Yeah, yeah.
replicate the form of it.
Well, just like Cliff Richard's trying to replicate Elvis at the end of the 50s, and here he is doing this by a decade later, frankly.
It's cheap knockoffs, isn't it, Cliff? It's just the era where you got the American records and re-record them quickly to make a quick buck before they came over.
For sure. Right, something very different at number six in our charts, and this is only number six in the charts because of history. Otherwise, this would have won Eurovision. I don't think any of us are going to argue with this. This would have
Not in the
won.
slightest.
No, it would have won Eurovision if it hadn't been for Russia invading Ukraine. And no disrespect to Ukraine. There's no way that song would have won if it hadn't have been for that. And so Sam Ryder comes in at number six with Spaceman because it came second. And the criteria I set for myself was if it came first, it would be above something that came second. But this would probably have been in the top four, I think, otherwise. It came second in the charts as well, oddly. It never got to number one in the charts, despite being the third most streamed song of the year in the UK. So
Three
just,
runner-up.
yeah, weird how that goes. I think it's a really good song, actually, Spaceman. It's not my favorite, and I don't think it's like, I mean, it's not something I would go out of my way, I don't think necessarily to listen to, but I do think it's actually pretty well put together. And of all the songs we've done that I've heard, at least for the last 30 years, probably it does stand out. John, what did you think?
I I actually have a soft spot for this. I think it's a yeah, it's really put together. I think Sam Ryder is an absolutely kind of winning personality because I think
Yeah, yeah.
at the end of the year he did the New Year show for the BBC off the top of my head.
Right.
So
Okay.
he
Yeah.
really, he really made a lot of it. Yeah, big performance, again, there's no irony to it. There's just like big smile, big voice. I think there's some interesting kind of lyrical tricks later on in the song as well.
Yeah, that's my one complaint is that the choruses at the start, they're big choruses, but they don't really do anything. And then at the
it's the
end, he
same
finally,
chorus, yeah, and
yeah, yeah,
then yeah, but yeah, I do have a real soft spot for this, and I don't necessarily usually go for the big voice with the tricks. So
fair enough. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Simon,
Um, it was okay. It was inoffensive. I really liked the middle eight. That had some nice chord changes in it. But it was interesting that when I was listening through these, that there's actually a section in there. There's a little bit of the way the song resolves that actually sounds like a lot like another song which is coming up on this
all right.
chart. So I do wonder whether there's a certain amount, and I think I'd probably do the same thing, whether there was a bit of studying some of the other Eurovision songs.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, some of these chord change. I mean, that's one thing with a lot of these songs is they do, particularly the choruses, always seem to resolve in a very obvious and expected way, which I suppose is supposed to make them sound comfortable. You know, you'd never get a Radiohead song in Eurovision because
But
it just
also, yeah. Well, I'm sorry, but also one thing you can't do at Eurovision is fade out, right? You have to give a full performance
yeah, yeah.
with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So, I mean, there's only so many ways you can resolve a pop song in some
Yeah,
respects. So,
And
but
you've only got 3 minutes to put that all together and impress the judges. And I mean, I know there's a trick where I know Sam Wright did this. It was you kind of put the song out 6 months before and kind of tour it a little around Europe, PAs and all that. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you've got to make it have an impact.
yeah, I mean, and Sam Ryder's, you don't forget him, do you? Once you've experienced one of his performances,
Yeah.
so he was perfect for Eurovision. You know, you do need someone who comes on. It's like some of the gimmicks. You know, there's always a gimmick with one of these, and the gimmick is Sam, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Better luck next time.
Right, into the top five. And the top five are all songs. These are the five UK entries that won Eurovision. So we've won Eurovision 5 times, and these are those songs. One of them came to number three in the charts, one of them came to number two in the charts, and three of them topped the charts. So it'd be interesting to see how they fall. But in fifth place, the least successful of the five, by some distance. From 1997, Katrina and the Waves, Love Shine a Light. And this is from a band. Whatever you think of it, Walking on Sunshine is an iconic pop song. You might not like it, Simon, but you
No, I
can't
don't. Yeah,
disagree. It's an
you're absolutely right.
iconic pop song.
Yeah.
How is Love Shine a Light so dull? This is like the antithesis of the Mary Hopkin one. The Mary Hopkin one is light and presentable, but works its way into your affections. This is light and presentable and works its way out of your
It's
affections.
like a bad charity record, is the way I feel
Oh,
about it.
really? Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, that's fair point, I think.
We are the world. It's there.
It feels like it's written to try and hit all the Eurovision buttons, and there's nothing else in it. There's nothing of interest.
Well,
It's
it was the little section of this that I heard in Sam Ryder. So
Oh,
yeah.
because
right.
I heard this and
Oh
then I
yeah,
heard
yeah.
Sam Ryder, and it was like, oh, that bit's in that as well. That's
Right.
interesting.
Is it
Fair.
true? Oh.
And yeah, you say it's like a bad charity record, but at least charity records are big and go for the emotional jugular.
Mm.
This just doesn't seem to, well, it doesn't feel like it. It probably is trying to do that. It just feels like it totally misses it to
It is
me.
going big, isn't it? But it's got an emptiness, kind of over nothing. It's kind of big, but there's nothing
Yeah.
to back that up.
Did they write it? Because it does not
I
feel like it
don't
could have been
think
written.
they did. It's not
No,
Kimberly, definitely not Kimberly Root. I don't think.
I've not got it open in front of me, so I'm not going to.
I do wonder, are its roots in Christian rock?
Sounds
Because
like it
it
actually.
does
Yeah.
sound like, yeah.
Yeah. Love, shine a light. very much sounds like the kind of thing that you'd
Oh, it
get.
was written by Kim Lee, so it was written by the band.
Wow. After
Okay.
they all found God, right?
Possibly.
Well, yeah,
I,
you'd hear it in songs of praise and you wouldn't question it, would you?
No, you wouldn't. Shall we move on then? Number four from 1969 came number two in the charts. This should have been number one in the charts. This is a song I didn't really know at all, actually. I don't think until we did this and I made this playlist for us to listen to. Lulu, Boom Bang a Bang.
is it the
So,
joint winner, I think? If
was
I
it a
remember
joint
right.
winner?
I think it
Oh,
was a joint winner.
fair enough. I hadn't pegged that. But yeah, I hadn't really any awareness of this. I'd heard the title. I don't think I'd ever really heard the song. Surprising. It's got that sort of German Oompa band kind of thing going on underneath
Schlager,
it.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, which could have been really irritating. But I think the chorus lifts it, and there's some things that she does with her voice in the chorus that give it that slight, not slight melancholy, slightly bittersweet edge to the chorus. She says boom, bang, a bang. And then the thing that she does afterwards just goes to a place you don't expect it to, which takes this sort of German sort of Oompa band kind of underpinning and makes it feel very swinging 60s. And all of a sudden, the song sounds like something off Carnaby Street in the 60s or whatever. Not a million miles away, maybe from something like, I don't know, not the Kinks, but something not a million miles away from that. I've got to say, of all the songs I listened to for this top 10, this was the one I was most impressed by. I
Mm.
really liked it.
I have to say that after again a lifetime since junior choice of knowing the song, I'd never listened to it properly, certainly not on headphones. And
Right.
the arrangement and the string arrangement in there is brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. And for a Lulu record, I don't like Lulu's voice.
Right.
Seconded. That was
Oh,
my issue
really?
with it.
Yeah,
Oh, fair.
but this was really good because she's kind of really constrained. It's like, oh, she's kept to the melody because that's
Right. Yeah.
so important with Eurovision. So it really worked.
Yeah. I think it did. John, you weren't as impressed then.
No, it's again because it's Lou's voice. I think Simon's right because the instrumentation is big, which is good because it kind of rises to meet her, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's very well suited for her, but again, it kind of feels I don't know the Mary Poppins Chitty Chitty Bang Bang kind of thing to
It
me.
sounds like
Oh,
it's going to
really?
start. She's going to start going on about mice with clogs on, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly that.
Oh, yes. I think that's what I liked, though. It sounds like she's about to go there, and then she
Yeah.
goes somewhere totally different
Yes,
in the chorus.
it's the one song that does that I think in this whole
Yeah.
list.
But it does it naturally. It doesn't feel like an unexpected left turn. It feels like a natural left turn. And I think that really makes it. And I was listening to these in the car with the family and they all hated this one. This was their least favorite. And yeah, I was there going, no, I really like it.
The power of Lulu.
Okay, let's do the
Technology.
songs that got to number one in the charts. In third place, so any one of these three, right? I think people would peg as the winner, maybe, of this list. But
Yeah,
in third place, from 1981, Bucks Fizz, making your mind up.
Oh, I thought it was going to be number one. I really
so
did.
did I.
Yeah, there you go. But of course, this is also about the charts and about how many weeks on the charts and all this kind of stuff. So I had a couple of other criteria that I've not mentioned going on as well to try and make the list accurate in terms of how successful the songs really were. And this one was third according to all criteria. We've talked about Bucks Fizz and we reviewed that album. We did it as a kind of April Fool's Day thing, but actually we properly talked about the album and reviewed it, and it was just you and me, wasn't it, John?
It was, yeah.
And actually, this kind of was one of the weaker things on the album. It's one of the strongest melodies, I think, but it's one of the weaker songs. And that's how I look at it on this list. It's very strong, it's very catchy, but I just think, in terms of the sort of subject and tone, I just think it's kind of a bit wishy-washy, really.
It's the second best Eurovision song from the UK with Cheryl Baker on it for my money. So,
What was the other one?
Bad Old Days by Coco.
Oh, really?
That's come up
Oh,
on
from
top
a
of the
couple of
Pops
years
repeats.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, of
78.
course.
Top of the Pops, it's had it on it repeat. I think that's the one Lindsay DePaul also kind of had a writing credit on.
All right.
Um, yeah, it's I think this one is sold on the performance, isn't it? Because it's obviously got the
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah,
when
yeah.
they whip the skirts off, yeah, it's cue to that moment. So it's based around, okay, we'll put this together, we'll get a routine there, and so and it's one based on the routine because there's nothing hugely memorable on the vocals, there's nothing hugely memorable on the arrangements, on the chorus. It goes exactly where you think it's going to go all the way.
It's very much a Grease light thing, isn't it? So
Yeah,
again, it's
it
one that's slightly behind its time.
couple of years off its time, but that's kind of perfect for Eurovision culture at the time because films etc. often took years to make their way across Europe.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I mean, we
And
had who did do the Hucklebuck? That was I can't remember the band that did that. Do you remember do the
Oh,
Hucklebuck?
so
no,
no, I was thinking, Kenny was the bum.
But that's around the same time, wasn't it? It must have been about
Yeah,
81, 80, 81.
I don't know. That sounds like a
No.
Shawaddy Waddy kind of a thing to me.
It's actually quite a good record. It's
Oh, really?
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, Making Your Mind Up is it's an okay song, but I just think in terms of
oh, Coast to Coast.
coast to
oh,
coast.
there
Yeah,
you
okay.
go. I just don't think it's Bucks Fizz's strongest song, let alone Eurovision's.
No.
No, I'm very much Land of Make Believe with Bucks
Yeah,
Fizz.
Land of Make Believe was I just listened to that over and over again.
Yeah, and to be honest, John and I talking about that album, there were several songs on that album that I think were way better than this, frankly. And
Yeah, it's almost like they were trying to sneak stuff through, wasn't sneak the good stuff through on the back of
yeah, yeah.
the big
The
hits.
definitely the writers were like, oh, we've written this song that's been a really big hit. Let's now actually make the album that we want to make,
Mm.
despite the fact that we've got these other people singing on it. Anyway, at number two from 1967, Sandy Shaw, Puppet on a String. If I'm not wrong, Burt Bacharach did the music for this. Is that right? Am I misremembering?
Trying to think, did he?
No, maybe you didn't. Maybe I'm
I
thinking
don't
of a
think
different
so.
Sandy Shaw song.
Mm, mm.
Oh, there's always something there to remind me. You might be thinking.
Oh, yes, of
Yeah,
course I'm
yeah.
thinking of that. So I think this is one of those iconic Eurovision things, and I think it's memorable. It is a production tour de force. It's a songwriting tour de force. It sounds like a song from a 1950s musical to me. And I've got to say, I thought I liked this song, but listening to it among these others, I just found it really irritating.
It's fairground, isn't it? It because the fun of the fair line keys everything on this song, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Did
And
you
I think
like it, John?
I always thought, yeah, like you. I was thinking I did because you've had it played to you because this is a winner. This is what we
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
So it gets played every Eurovision when it came around.
Mm.
But I think it's a slightly faster rhythm than the Lulu song because I think the Lulu song is almost trying for a similar thing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It's yeah, but it's kind of it's not there's so it's not bassy enough for me. I think it's all too much at the higher end of the range. So there's no
Yeah, yeah.
dynamic to it.
And it just seems to be quirky for quirky's sake in some ways.
Yeah, I
Which
don't if I remember right, Sandy Shaw doesn't particularly like it either.
oh, that wouldn't surprise me. Simon, what did you think of this?
Well, it's like you say, it does have the demeanor of a novelty record, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
she does, particularly if you see her perform it, you warm to it because of her
Right.
her character, and that she's got a bit more edge to her, maybe. So you think, well, she's in on the joke, and I'm going to laugh along because I like her. You know,
Yeah.
she hasn't got her shoes on.
Yeah, and I think as I said, the point of Eurovision is that performance. It's that moment on there. It's made. It's essentially the whole song is just made for that one performance. So
Yeah.
maybe when they
Yeah.
chart, it's not best served by doing that.
Well, it's so immediate. I think
Yeah,
maybe that's the problem. It's so
totally.
immediate, so it works in the moment, but because it's so immediate, it doesn't have the integrity, the depth
Yeah, I mean,
to live.
even something like Waterloo, which again is a really well put together record, but it's hardly the the thing that ABBA became remembered for later in the
No.
decade, is it?
No, but like you say, it's like Waterloo's like a Slade record. It's
Yeah,
deceptively well written. It's
Mm.
absolutely brilliant. The structure of those songs.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and then you had the composer coming on as Napoleon and them in the yeah, in the satin outfit.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
visually brilliant gimmicks to work.
Right. Shall we reveal the number one then? Which I'm sure you two guys have worked out, but I guess the people listening who perhaps won't have.
I thought it would only be only three.
From 1976, Brotherhood of Man, Save Your Kisses for Me, which I've always thought I didn't like. But listening to it, I had to get for the exactly the same as Cliff Richard. I had to give it kudos for being production and songwriting par excellence. Whatever you think of the song itself, it is supremely well put together. And listening to it, the first time I listened through it, I was halfway through it and I thought, oh God, this is just awful. It's it's this really weird fusion of like cheesy as all hell, but at the same time, weird. There's something weird about it. And as part of that weirdness, there's a slight creepiness to it. And then it got to the
Yeah,
last,
particularly at the
Now
last
you should
one.
see the dance that goes with
but
it.
Yeah.
then it got to the last line, which I'd forgotten, but obviously I'd heard many times before, but I've not heard this song for decades. And I think the last line saved it and actually made it a better song than I thought it was while I was listening to it. And I warmed to it. I'm not going to say it was one of my favorites, but I thought it was a better song for that because I thought that made the cheesiness and the weirdness make sense. So I think it serves its purpose really well, to be
But
honest. And it was the
that the la
best-selling
that
song of the year, by the way. That's why it's come top, because
oh
it was the
really?
best-selling song of the year.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, we certainly had a copy.
yeah.
As to whether me or my sister bought a copy with her record token, it's possible. It's possible. I
I
can't
think you
remember.
did, Simon. I think you did.
Yeah, possibly. I do remember listening to it and put it
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the record deck. And yeah, yeah. But that joke at the end does tend to suggest that you can only listen to it once because you already know the joke by the end of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's fair, but I don't think it's a joke. I thought it. I honestly thought, oh, it makes sense of all the weirdness in the song
Yeah.
that felt like it was so. It's so the song is going on and it sounds like he's singing to a kid, and I'm thinking you can't sing a song like this to a kid. That's just creepy. And then it turns out you are singing a song to a kid, and actually, when you think about it, there isn't anything creepy about it. It's just a song to a kid. It's a nursery rhyme, a lullaby.
It gives it some heart, I think,
Yeah,
beyond the cheesiness.
totally. And it makes sense of the cheesiness too, because if you're singing to a 3-year-old, you would be cheesy.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the Kaniki version? They did it
No, I
on
haven't.
Eurotrash.
Oh,
So
did they
yeah, it's
really?
on YouTube somewhere if you look for it.
Yeah, yeah. But this is like tie. Is tie a yellow ribbon also by the Brotherhood of Man?
Oh no, that's
Or
Tony
by
Orlando and Dawn.
all right, it's
Mm.
exactly the same sort of thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Very much in that same ballpark. But yeah, I ended up not hating this at all and actually quite liking it. So what can I say?
Yeah,
Simon's frowning at me through the
it's
darkness.
it's sentimental, isn't it? It's
It is,
sentimental,
yes.
which is I think
Yeah.
is always a winner, and that's partly I think why Ireland tended to do so well.
Hmm.
I mean, it was a big chunk of my childhood. It's another one of those records that was played all the time. I just remember it being
Totally, yeah.
constantly on that record deck. And the funny thing is, I always remember what the what do you call them? What's the disc called in the middle of the record? The card,
Oh, I know what you mean, but yeah,
not
yeah.
the inlay. I can't remember, but I remember it being purple and red, kind of gradiated colours, and you remember things like that. When John mentioned tie a yellow ribbon, I remember that was a silver label,
Right.
same possibly the same
Yeah,
label as the Osmonds. I can't remember, but anyway.
Fair enough.
You see, I can remember all this stuff, but I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. So,
but it was delicious, right?
oh yeah, always.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. We've done the top 10, but there's two more questions. One of which is, so of the top 10, I think we should each pick a favorite or the one we, like I say, dislike the least or whatever. And I think I've already kind of made it plain that the one I enjoyed the most listening through was Boom Bang a Bang by Lulu. Although Mary Hopkin and possibly Sam Ryder was sort of in contention. But yeah, the Lulu one, by far and away, the one I enjoyed the most and was very much surprised by. Simon, have you got one that you'd like to pick out?
I think I'm gonna have to agree with you. It's that whole experience of actually listening
Yeah.
to it. I mean, it's something that, these days with Eurovision and the people who know me, I'm like a broken record with it. But I do wonder why it should be so simple for Britain to do really well in this
Yeah.
because of the standard of songwriters we've got in this country.
Well,
And you
Simon,
listen to
you
those older
are
ones.
spoiling my next question.
Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah, I'll shut up now. But yes, it was a joy to listen to.
Yeah, fair enough. John, have you got a favourite?
I'll probably go for Sam Ryder because it's just sort of an uncomplicated good time of a song, really. And it
Yeah,
has
yeah.
a few of those nice tricks I like lyrically. So yeah, I'll go with Sam.
And it sounds modern and timeless at the same time, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
But
Yeah.
obviously, with 2 votes to 1, again, career runner-up.
Well, the last question then, because we're recording this 1 week before Eurovision, is are we going to win next week? How are we going to do? And why are we going to come last?
So you're answering the question as well there. That's fine. I don't mind.
Sort of. I think I've heard that song now. I think I have. I've no recollection of it
No,
whatsoever.
this is the
Or
problem.
then.
The
Yeah.
songs are forgettable. It's so I think at best it'll be mid-table. I
Yeah.
I have no idea what will win because I haven't had a chance to listen to every song. So
No. I just can't see it doing anything at all, frankly. Simon, have you heard it? Do you know it?
I've heard it. People seem to like it. I listened to an American podcast. I can't remember the name of it now, but they seemed to really like it. They picked out some of their favorites, and they said
Right.
it was all right, it was okay, and they like the fact that it's a bit odd because it is slightly odd.
Yeah.
Um, but I wish they'd just cut to the chase and got the last dinner party on to do the British song because
oh
they've
yes,
I think they've nicked their stylist. Um,
yes, very much so.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. As I said previously, I just wonder why we can't get decent songwriters to write songs for Eurovision for us. I
God,
don't get it. I
does
don't
anyone
understand.
remember the year they did a public vote and at least one of the contenders was a very pregnant Katie Price?
Oh, really?
It was
Yeah.
Well,
not good.
and I'm not misremembering, but Radiohead also talked about writing for Eurovision, didn't they? And Simon sort of brought it up earlier. I don't think that
They
should happen because I
no,
don't think radio.
No, no.
they sounded out George Michael about it, I think, and Elton John, I think, at one point, but I don't think it was ever close to coming to anything.
No, and I don't think that would have been the way to go either. I think you
I
have
don't
to.
think Elton would have. Particularly, he has that big kind of sense of camp sensibility that would help him get noticed.
Yeah,
And they did
maybe,
put
but
Engelbert Humperdinck in fairly recently, so
yeah, yeah.
you never know.
I just don't think that Elton John's songs of the last sort of 20 years have been kind of iconic enough. And I think the thing about Eurovision is you need something that really punches, that
Yes.
really grabs people's attention. And I don't think Elton John does that anymore.
No, and I think part of it as well is the UK is a kind of different market because obviously we have, as Simon said, we've got such a strong songwriting tradition. We have our own songs. Eurovision, that it's also an ecosystem in the Eurovision pop that we don't know about. It's
Well,
I think so,
Eurovision, yeah.
yeah, it's like someone like Loreen is a huge pop star on the continent, and that's
Mm,
the reason she's won Eurovision twice.
yeah, yeah.
But
And yet,
we barely know her over here outside Eurovision generally. So
basically, our songwriting tradition is at a cross, it's just gone off at a right angle from Eurovision,
yeah,
hasn't it?
totally,
This
totally.
is Eurovision is essentially Europop, and Britain, despite obviously whatever that we've got going on, essentially we've had the sort of singer-songwriter tradition in the form of bands, but it's still basically a singer-songwriter thing, even in bands, and that is not really what Eurovision's about at all
No, and
anymore.
And as I said, it's if they've done that charm offensive across the continent in leading up to it. So, if they put the legwork in beforehand, it's like you say about Bands Break America, you had to play all the little shows. I don't know if they've done that. If they've done that, they've got a reasonable shot, I think.
I think
Somewhat.
I can't remember her name, but the girl who our song was by 2 years ago, the year after Sam Ryder. Can't remember her name.
Or was it
I
May,
thought
May Miller or something? Was
that's
it?
it.
Instead, I wrote a song.
That's it. I thought that was a really strong song. I thought her performance of it somehow
It was
just didn't
dreadful.
work.
I
Yeah,
think she was. They said she was at. Kieran, she couldn't. Her microphone went or something, so she couldn't
yeah, that
get
it
the
felt like that
tune.
because I'd I'd seen her do it before and it was great, and on the
Yeah,
night it was awful. But also, I think one of the words that sort of came from behind the scenes was, and I don't know if this is shyness or arrogance. I hope it was shyness rather than arrogance. But apparently, she wasn't getting along with people in the same way as Sam Ryder was, and people think that kind of put the kibosh on it doing very well either.
yeah. I think the politics element of it is overstated. Although Greece and to Cyprus will always give each other 12
For
points.
sure. But you can't win it that way these
But
days, I don't
no,
think.
no, not at all. Not with the number of countries around. But yeah, you have to have that extra element of making people like you, making the people who will vote like you.
And I
Yeah,
suppose
absolutely.
there's a chance, isn't there, that the kind of the cultural zeitgeist, the taste is going to be similar between those countries, just like, between England
For
and
sure.
Ireland.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally.
You tend to find that we vote for each other. So, but that's kind of the issue, isn't it? Is if you did, you feel like if you did send in a really strong song, the worry would be that it would actually be rejected by most countries because it's not within their taste range
I'm
at
sure
this
it's
point in
happened.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably
And
happened,
it's
hasn't it?
something that you'd be asked about in interviews through the rest of your career.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and why would you chuck in your great song into Eurovision when you can just put it out there and make a fair amount of money from it rather than throw it to the wolves?
See,
Yeah, in
see,
some
I
ways.
do wonder these days because it still gets big ratings. If it would be a good way for an up and coming band or artist to actually gain attention, I think that's certainly the way I've read a few recent entries.
But only if it goes well for them.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's kind of the nail in the coffin, isn't it?
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
you're
So
risking a
it's a
lot. It's a
risk.
big gamble.
Yeah. And it's a gamble that if it pays off, oh boy, does it pay off. Ask Sam Ryder.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, that's 1 in 20 times, right? Right, that's a gloomy note to end on after such a fun conversation. Right, that was our Eurovision, predicting great things for the UK at next week's ceremony.
The eternal pessimists of Europe.
I cannot imagine that we'll be back to review that, but just in case, until then, I was JR,
I was John.
And I was Simon.
and we will speak again soon.
Nil pois.
There we go.
Perfect.